Welcome to the Kim Sunshine Show. I am so excited to have Carla Mendez here with me.
Good morning.
And she's like a rock star superstar.
Well, thank you.
You are welcome. You are welcome. So tell us about your business and what you do.
My business is called The Mind Mason. I'm an educational resource that's brand new to Flagler County. I just moved here recently. But in my background, I have 20 years of bilingual public ed experience nationwide, 5 different states. So what I did was pivot to my own company where I am able to provide customized one-on-one support directly to families and students.
That's awesome. I love that you have the word Mason in your business name because we're Cornerstone.
Absolutely. So it was a perfect partner in marriage there.
You have to get the solid parts together first. And with Cornerstone, you know, our idea is let's get you, our motto is the foundation of success. So if you get that cornerstone in right, everything else just falls straight into place.
Absolutely. And my motto is education with intention. So along the same philosophy of building that really strong foundation and learning how to learn and understanding the learning process, really demystifying what has evolved as part of the education landscape over the last 15 to 10 years.
Exactly. So now your last name is Mendez, so I assume that Spanish is one of the languages. How many different languages do you teach aside from English and Spanish?
I teach only English and Spanish,
well,
but
that's
I do
a lot.
speak 4 languages
You
myself. Different levels of proficiency, of course, but fully bilingual in English and Spanish.
And what are the other 2 languages?
French and Italian.
French and Italian. Well, Portuguese isn't that far off from
I can
Spanish.
read Portuguese as well and have done quite a bit of communicating. I got my hair done quite a few times with some Portuguese.
Well, we have a big Portuguese community here in the Flagler County area, so that's good. That's very good. Now, are you primarily working inside the schools or are you working with individual families?
I'm working individual families. Right now, most of my business is virtual as I am able to connect to every single family and student that needs that educational access immediately in real time. So I can be on demand across the country, especially with my background knowledge being part of 5 different national educational markets throughout my career.
Fantastic. So bilingual. So obviously, I would say English, but it's not English. English or Spanish would be one of the courses. Are you teaching all the different courses?
I have certification in K-6 education, as well as K-12 Spanish, 512 social studies, and K-12 administration.
Fantastic. So an ideal client for you would be who?
My ideal client is honestly anyone that is at the point that realizes that the system just takes too long to change, irrespective of what that means to you. Let me just put that in industry context, because this is one of the types of snippets that I can provide to families, right? If you are looking for some sort of systemic change within the schools, let's say curriculum changes.
Okay.
That adoption cycle, depending on the school district and resources, finances that they have available to them, takes anywhere between 5 and 10 years.
Wow.
So if you're looking at your child in kindergarten, before any change that you may personally want to push the system, they're going to be in high school before you see the fruits of that labor. There's too much delay.
Right.
So my services are for those parents and families and students that are really taking ownership over their own learning, that want to take command and understand of how to make progress and understand themselves in the learning process now, not waiting for the system to be able to reach that capacity.
Okay, so is this process, are you more process oriented or curriculum oriented? Because I mean, do we go to Macmillan, or are we doing, the way that we're doing math? Is it the way that things are happening or the actual curriculum itself that you're helping with?
That is an awesome question. And what I really realized over my expertise and experience gained over the last 20 years is curriculum is a small component of what I'm talking about. So I am not here to push any agenda or a specific curriculum. It's really about that targeted way to figure out our brains.
Exactly.
How do we learn? How are we, in what style do we learn? Are we more tactical? Are we more audio visual? So learning about our learning style in the first place but also understanding the fact that our brains are lazy. By biological design. By biological design.
So
no
wait,
fault of anyone
that's what
else.
it is. Now we got the Wednesday excuse in the pocket. That is, it wasn't me. It was my brain.
It was my
being,
brain.
My
It was
brain was
super
being
lazy.
Like I was up and ready to go, but my brain was still asleep. Okay, I could totally relate to that because my brain does not wake up until maybe like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Right.
So I did find out that I did wake up an hour earlier and my brain got up an hour earlier. So I guess on Thursdays for my BNI meeting, I'm going to be getting up an hour earlier so I'm not like halfway asleep. But
yeah, I mean, so how your brain works, but also like really gaining that awareness. One of the things that I always tell my kids is we are our best liars. And so really figuring out where your shortcomings are from the position of learning in a stance of non-judgment. This is what our weaknesses are from learning. Everyone has different ones. We're human beings.
Exactly.
There is no room to cast judgment on ourselves. Society does that enough for us.
Well, and society tries to always put all the eggs into one carton, but when we go to the store to buy eggs, I tell you, there's 15 different brands.
Absolutely.
Yes. Did you know that there's vegetarian eggs? But I'm allergic to all other eggs except for those. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing different, but I'm thankful for the differences when it comes to eggs because now I can find one that I'm not allergic to. But the interesting thing with people is when we go into schools or anything that's institutionalized, everyone expects it to be cookie cutter.
Right.
And that's just so that they can mass produce. I mean, if you're mass producing something, you want it exactly the same. But we are each customized. We are not mass produced.
No.
And that's where you come in to help people determine their style for learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And even determining what their questions are. Each parent and family might have radically different questions that are unique to their family paradigm. And so I come into that space and say, hey, let me ask you and guide you with a certain amount of questions so you can come to your own level of understanding and make that decision for yourself. I am not here to like impose any sort of learning style on anyone. It's really just that unearthing process.
So when you're saying you help a family create questions, so does that mean part of my learning style would be an ABC, a sequence of questions that would help me to gain more understanding? Like that the questions would have to be styled a certain way. Like for me, I know for myself, like I think my brain thinks differently than everybody. And that's exactly what you're here promoting. But so I'll ask questions like, well, how cold was the water? Was it, people talk about a pool and I'm like, well, how cold, what was the temperature of the water? Like some people might not even care about that. But I asked that question. Is that what you're talking about? Like a different question to ask about something to help remember it?
In some, that could be one of the pathways it goes down because that's what speaks to you. That's what you're latching onto in terms of, hey, this is my learning style. This is what needs to happen. But for somebody else, that question and that answer will be very different. And having a 20-year repertoire of what those questions can be nationwide, I have the capacity, just like you're able to guide me in this interview process here, I have a similar capacity to be able to guide people to think about things that resonate with themselves.
That's awesome. So now, what about people with ADHD or a learning disability? Are those clients of yours or areas where you're able to give some assistance?
Absolutely. I mean, those would be wonderful clients because one of the best things that you can do there is really teach them how brains are learning and where ADHD is hijacking that process. And so it's really about learning the questions and learning how to learn, not just learning style, but like literally the biological processes in a simple term, right? That are happening inside our brains. So that way we can look at something that could be deemed a weakness or something that is an obstacle or a challenge to get over, whatever we have to be able to have actionable steps that really release that anxiety from us and focus. Really, really being able to say, okay, I already know that this might be a pitfall of mine. Test anxiety, ADHD, getting distracted. So when you're very aware of, what you need to overcome, you can use that strength, as you were saying.
As a superpower.
You will use it as a superpower and saying, hey, I am fully aware of what I'm doing.
So awesome.
These are the strategies that I'm going to use and employ to get my goal achieved through that learning process.
That's amazing. So how long do you generally work with a client? Let's say I have somebody who is really excited about getting their real estate license, but as you know, the real estate exam is extremely hard.
Sure.
Most people don't pass it the first time on the state level, and they have to continue to go back. So it's you can get a 30-day course to complete the education needed, but then you have to take your exam. How far out should someone contact you before an exam like that?
It really depends on what the exam is and what your goals are. What I am able to do, again, because I am that customized on-demand one-on-one support, if you are needing just one cram session or you're like, oh my gosh, I just need a couple of strategies, we can do a one-time 1-hour session. If you would like to have more durational support, I can also customize bundles and able to do that same sort of durational longevity support as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. But before you go, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So the first question is, what is your relationship like with God? And I always ask everybody this because the name of our company is Cornerstone. When I created this, I dedicated everything that we do out of this building and out of this space to God. And I said, it will pass through the word of God and it'll come out as gold. So that is my goal and intention into coming into the marketplace with Cornerstone Center. And I'd just like to know, where do you stand and what's your thoughts on that?
My thought is really looking at like the deeper values and morals that come from a relationship with religion, right? And I'm very service oriented. That has been instilled with me since I was very, very young. Using what you have and your powers, right, that you've accumulated through your life in service of others. And I've done that throughout my career in public ed, and now I'm pivoting to doing that directly with the community members as well. So I see it very aligned, but ultimately it's really about empowering other people and getting them to see their own light.
Right.
I think that's really what learning is about. There's a lot of different directions where that conversation has moved, especially recently, but it's really about finding that light within yourself to be able to shine that on to everybody else.
That's beautiful. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And that's what God gives us. And I believe in that Jesus came and died on the cross for us and to forgive us for our sins and also to empower us to be able to help and be the hands and feet of Christ to others. And the service that you're doing for people, you are really setting a lot of people free. And I'm just very, very thankful that you are out there doing that and empowering people who have been, beat down for their differences,
Sure,
or told that they're less than, or because they were so corralled into a group of, cookie cutter.
Sure.
That they feel like they don't fit in or that there's something wrong with them. And at the end of the day, it's not. It's just that they were beautifully and wonderfully made by our Creator. And you're bringing that out. So I'm so thankful for everything that you're doing, Carla. I think it's beautiful. All right. So the next question.
Okay.
All right. This one is, now we have a lot of people that are moving here by the beach who've never been by the beach before. So in the terrible situation that someone will get stung by a jellyfish.
Okay.
What do you do to fix a jellyfish sting?
What do you do to fix a jellyfish sting? That is a good question. Well, I mean, there's the friend's response that Jilly had, which I've never personally tried before.
I made her blush.
You're just going to make me laugh.
I wonder. It's okay. It's okay.
Pee on your foot. It's fine. No, I think the most important thing is to realize that it is a jellyfish. So to collect yourself, breathe deeply, remove the jellyfish, and seek the medical attention that is aligned with the degree of which the sting has brought forth to you. But really about, it's all like relevant, right? Keeping that agency about yourself. When you know how to learn, you understand your own reaction. Hopefully in a moment of emergency, you can compose yourself.
Have you ever been stung? I have never been stung by a jellyfish.
I have been stung by these tiny little jellyfish that are about this big when I was swimming in Costa Rica, but there was probably several hundred around me.
Oh my gosh.
You couldn't see them. So all of a sudden, you just kept getting these little pinches, and I was trying to figure out what it was.
What's happening?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
But one of these monsters that have washed ashore in Florida, no, I have not been stung by one of those, fortunately.
Evil monsters. Well, we have the beautiful purple Portuguese man of war, which is supposed to be another awful sting. I've never been stung by one, but they are so beautiful when they wash up on our beaches. And it's probably about that season now if you walk the beach in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some wonderful pictures of questionable types of jellyfish I need to species identify right now.
So this is a new question that we're asking everybody. What is your rapper name? I'm Funky Fly Fresh.
My rapper name. Oh man. I don't know. That is a really challenging question. I still haven't been able to think about that.
It's okay.
It's going to have to be something that's aligned with divaness, but also yoga.
And really education. Education. So.
And balancing all of those things.
Stretchy C. Oh.
I don't know. Maybe when I come out with you to do horrible karaoke that you will regret ever mentioning the word karaoke in front of I can break glass and
no way.
And make cats run away. My voice is terrible. No
way. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so all I say is that if somebody just has to practice. There's a song for everyone. You just have to practice. You just have to practice.
Art form for everyone.
So just like you teach people who don't think they can learn, I could teach people who don't think they can sing. Listen, I'm not the greatest singer, and I promise I'm definitely not, but I can muddle through.
All right.
So I can teach you to muddle a little. Carla, it has been absolutely a joy. Thank you so much for being on the Kim Sunshine Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm so excited about you being a part of our community and really helping to set the captives free and break people free from things that have been holding them back. So if you need any help in any educational area, if you can't find Carla, I'm going to put her information here, but you can always call Cornerstone Center and we'll get you in touch with her. She's absolutely fantastic and we're thankful to have her as a part of our community.
Thank you so much. And it is themindmason.com, Carla Mendez at The Mind Mason. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Bye.